The saddest words I ever spoke were never goodbye. They were maybe later. I said them so often that the man I loved stopped asking. At 63 years old, I believed I was being responsible. I thought there would always be another weekend, another vacation, another anniversary, another chance to choose us instead of my work. I was wrong. When I finally had all the time in the world, there was no one left waiting to spend it with me. If you stay with me, I'll tell you why a stack of unopened train tickets changed everything I believed about success, and why I have never again trusted the promise of later. My name is Linda. I am 63 years old, recently retired, and living in a quiet apartment overlooking a small lake that I barely noticed while I was busy building a career. For 36 years, I worked for the same accounting firm. I never missed a tax deadline. Never turned in a late report. Never forgot a client meeting. People admired my discipline. They called me dependable. What they didn't see was how often I confused being needed with being loved. My husband, Michael, was nothing like me. He noticed sunsets. He stopped to watch children feeding ducks. He remembered the names of waitresses and mail carriers. If life were a song, Michael always listened to the whole melody. I only counted the beats. The first time he asked me to travel with him was in 1993. He walked into the kitchen holding 2 train tickets. "A little bed and breakfast by the ocean," he said with a smile. "Just 3 days." I looked at the calendar. "I can't. The quarterly reports are due Monday." He nodded. "Maybe next month." "Definitely." I meant it. The tickets stayed on the refrigerator for a week before quietly disappearing. The next year he asked again. "There'll be another chance," I said. "Maybe later." 5 years later. Maybe later. 10 years later. Maybe later. Every anniversary, Michael invented a new idea. A cabin in the mountains. A jazz festival. A weekend in Charleston. A drive through New England in autumn. I always had an answer. "We're too busy. The timing isn't right. We'll enjoy it more after retirement." After retirement. Those 2 words became the storage room where I kept every dream I was too busy to live. Meanwhile, life continued without asking permission. My hair turned gray. Our nieces grew into mothers. Friends retired and started sending postcards from places we'd always planned to visit. Michael never complained. At least not with words. Instead, he folded the brochures neatly and tucked them into the bottom drawer of his desk. I never opened that drawer. At 58, I finally noticed something had changed. Michael had stopped making suggestions. No more surprise tickets. No travel magazines on the coffee table. No conversations about someday. Part of me felt relieved. The other part should have been worried. One evening, I asked him, "Is something wrong?" He smiled. "No. You've stopped talking about traveling." I figured I'd stop asking questions that already had answers. His voice wasn't angry. That made it hurt even more. I wanted to tell him things would be different. Instead, I opened my laptop. "I just need to finish this report." He quietly turned off the living room lamp and went to bed alone. 3 years later, I retired. My coworkers threw a beautiful party. They gave me flowers, a crystal plaque, and a standing ovation. Everyone said the same thing. "Now your real life begins." I believed them. I came home carrying balloons and retirement gifts. Michael was sitting on the porch. He smiled. "So." He reached into his jacket pocket. "I've been waiting for this." He handed me 2 train tickets. The Swiss Alps. 10 days. Departure in 3 weeks. For the first time in 30 years. I didn't say maybe later. I laughed. Yes. His face lit up like the young man I had married. We spent the next week making lists, buying luggage, looking at maps, arguing playfully over hiking boots. It felt as though we had found our 20s again. Then, 12 days before our flight, Michael collapsed while trimming the hedge. The ambulance arrived within minutes. I followed behind, praying harder than I ever had. The emergency room smelled of antiseptic and fear. A doctor removed his glasses before speaking. I've never forgotten that small gesture. I'm very sorry. A massive aneurysm. Instant. There are moments when the world doesn't shatter. It simply stops. I returned home that evening carrying his jacket. The train tickets were still inside the pocket. 2 weeks later, after relatives had gone home and casseroles stopped arriving, I finally opened the bottom drawer of his desk. Inside were dozens of small envelopes. Every one labeled with a year. 1993.1994.1995. All the way to the present. I opened the first. 2 train tickets. Expired. Then another. Hotel reservations. Expired. Museum passes. Concert tickets. Expired. Cruise brochures with handwritten notes. Linda would love this view. She always wanted to see Wales. Maybe next spring. There were 30 years of dreams waiting patiently in that drawer. Dreams that had never blamed me. Never complained. Never demanded. Only waited. At the very bottom lay one final envelope. It simply read, "For when you finally say yes." Inside was a letter. "My darling Linda. If you're reading this before our trip, then I hope we're laughing together. If you're reading it alone, then life had other plans. Please don't spend your remaining years punishing yourself. You weren't choosing work over me. You were choosing security for us. I understood that. I only wish you had understood that you were already enough." My tears blurred the page. There was more. "Promise me one thing. Don't let later become someone else's goodbye. Go see the mountains. Feed the birds. Miss a meeting if you have to. People remember where you stood beside them, not how long you stayed at your desk." 3 months later, I boarded that train alone. I carried Michael's photograph in my backpack. When the train climbed through the mountains, I found myself smiling through tears. An elderly couple across the aisle held hands while watching the snow-covered peaks. The husband pointed excitedly out the window. His wife laughed exactly the way Michael used to. For a moment, I felt something warm instead of broken. Not happiness. Not yet. Gratitude. Michael hadn't wanted me to stay home mourning all the journeys we missed. He wanted me to keep traveling. Not away from him, but with everything he had taught me. Now, every year on the anniversary of our planned trip, I buy 2 train tickets. One for me. One that stays tucked inside my journal. The conductor never punches the second ticket. He doesn't have to. It's already been used. Not for a seat, but for a promise finally kept. If someone you love asks you to take a walk, go. If they ask you to watch the sunset, sit down. If they invite you somewhere you've never been, don't automatically search for your calendar. Search your heart first. Work will always find another Monday. The people who love you may not find another year. I still keep one of Michael's old train tickets inside my wallet. The date faded long ago. The destination is barely readable. But 2 words remain perfectly clear. Departure time. Life rarely tells us when the last one will be.